Hello, people. We are back. A2TP podcast, episode 169. We are back. It's your boy, International Walk.
It's your girl, Tosh, the co-hostess with the mostest.
And we are back for another week of us out there, platforms, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Podcast Index, Podchaser, Google Podcasts, Player FM are the platforms you can catch us on. Type our names in and faces should pop up. And is all the episodes up? Or should there be some new uploading?
Some new uploading will occur shortly.
So we have new uploading coming for the newer episodes.
But there's a lot there for you to get caught up on.
The last, 10?
Maybe 5 or 6.
The last 5 episodes will be uploaded
this weekend.
Soon. This weekend. Heard it from the horse's mouth. Let's get right to the show. How are you?
I'm
doing
okay today. Mentally, I'm a 9. I'm okay. My husband was upset with me and I didn't even know, and I wish he would have communicated sooner, but I don't like when he's upset with me. But other than that, I'm okay. And I got a little bit of headache, but I guess I don't know if that goes into physical, but that, affects your mental. So I'm a 9. Finances are a 9. Looking to spend some money. My husband is being a hater, but we'll get into that some more.
How am I being a hater?
We'll get into that some more later in the show. Work is a 9, and it's really good. It's a high 9, but just got some things going on. Gotta make some moves and just busy. So I mean, it's a 9 in all the good ways, but it's a 9. And physically I'm a 9 too, because I got a little bit of headache. Other than that, I feel good. I'm feeling. We did some exercises in the gym that we hadn't done in a while. Those goblet squats. I can feel it in my booty. Well, like my glutes. Yeah, and so I feel that a little bit, but I feel good. It's that gym pain I don't mind, but my head is bothering me a little bit. Just might be the weather, the time of month. Might be tired. I don't know. You had some good sleep today. This might be a culmination of things. My eyes are bothering me, so that might be some extra strain that's causing me a little bit of a headache. I don't know, but overall, I'm 9s across the board. But in the best way,
Yeah, well, I mean, 9's 9's.
Yeah.
Nueve's Nueve.
How are you?
I feel great mentally. I'm a 9. I heard what you said in the beginning when you said I was upset with you, and I kind of assumed that you knew because we were talking back and forth last night, and I'm trying to think of another word to use other than upset, because I wasn't really upset. Like, I don't never want.
Well, you said your feelings were hurt.
Yeah, I don't never want to be like upset at you, like because we can talk and talk things out. So that's why. If you might have felt like I didn't communicate, because I kind of thought you knew. Like, I felt like last night when we was talking, like I kind of went upstairs and it was like, I just thought you knew. But again, communication is key. And then to be honest with you, I wasn't going to say anything.
But I could tell. That's why I kept probing you, what's up?
Right. And
you were saying even when I called you, when I FaceTime you, just to kind of remind you to take.
I couldn't see your face.
Oh.
So I didn't think that you could see mine.
Yeah.
So when you kept saying I look sad, I'm like, I can't see her. How the fuck can she see me?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know why the signal didn't pick up. But yeah, but your demeanor was just. That's why I said to you, my heart had dropped a little bit. I thought you was about to cry.
It wasn't.
I'm not saying it was that intense that
it wasn't
but
at all.
Your face just, so that's why I'm like, what's up? What's
my
wrong?
face was showing the tiredness that I didn't know that I was that tired. I just felt like, okay, I'm exhausted. This job, my head, my body, and again, those exercises yesterday, everything was hurting that hadn't been hurting in a while. So yeah, and I was just, my feelings was just hurt. I wasn't upset at you. I didn't have no beef at you. Yeah, I wasn't going to make a big stink out of it. I probably would have brought it up again, if it happened again. But I wasn't going to fight over it, is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So I'm a 9 there. Finances, I feel like I'm a 9. Always room grow in that area. Work is a solid 10. Things are just going smoother now that we're in the home stretch of things. Like the home stretch where finishes are getting done and things like that. So it's starting to come together.
Have you still been making videos?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, I got them. So yeah, it's a big deal now, and everything is just going smoother. So it's kind of less stress. Job kind of runs itself at this point because it's a lot of other subs. Yeah, it's just busy. It's like 25, 30 people a day on a job, so it's a lot to coordinate. Floor guys, paint guys, drywall guy, like all kinds of shit happening at once. So I feel good there. I'm a 10. Physically, I feel like a 9. My body is a little bit hurting, but I did come home today and just crash. Like
he took a 4-hour
Yeah,
nap.
I didn't think
he has never done that after work. Like on a Friday, he's off early, so yeah, he may get in at noon and after the gym take a nap. But he took a nap from 3 p.m. until 7 p.m.
Yep.
I cannot remember in our life you doing that after work.
Nope.
Now
and I didn't feel like weirdly tired, like, oh my God, I feel fatigued. It was just, I am fucking tired. This rain, she is right with that sun shit. Like, the sun needs to come out because this rain, the grayness, it just, it tampers your
serotonin,
your exuberance. Yeah, like
it's gray and it makes you feel gloomy.
As long as you can fight it for a day, maybe 2, but it's like
it's been raining 4 days straight.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God. And today, this morning, it was like the hardest rain ever driving to work. Coming home, it was like the hardest rain ever.
It was thundering while you was asleep.
And it's like, God damn, like, and I just pulled up today and I usually park in the driveway, get my shit on and go to the gym. Today was just pull in the fucking garage and park and go lay across I couldn't think about shit else driving home except I want to lay at the foot of the bed. I didn't want to get in the bed. I didn't want to be on the couch. I just kept thinking the foot of the bed, the foot of the bed. I wanted to hug it. And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, I was scared. You was so much on the foot. I thought you was going to fall off. I just folded the blanket back on you. You didn't look cold, but you was kind of like hugging yourself, and I didn't want you to get cold. But I was like, okay, he's comfortable. I finished my work day. You were still asleep. Was listening to some music. You slept right through it. Went, got washed, shut the door a little bit so you wouldn't hear it. Turned the shower on. Got myself together. Came in the room. Got clothes. Like everything. And started cooking. Was reading my book while I was cooking. And then you woke up.
I was shocked when I popped up and looked at my watch and it said 6:46. I'm like, God damn, I thought it was like maybe 5 o'clock, 4:30. But yeah.
And my plan was wake them up when the food is done, which would have been like 7:15. Like I was just gonna let you sleep.
I had to get a shower and like wake myself up. I hate like eating like right out of sleep. Like my eyes are dry. I can't even like concentrate. So yeah, that's how I'm feeling. Wows and woes, ups, downs, stops, goes, blacks, whites.
My wow is just God blessing us with another week. Throughout the grief process, I am grateful that I am where I am mentally. I have my pop-up as my screensaver on my phone, so every now and then, I catch myself like getting a little, when I looked at my phone, like a little bit choked up, because it's like I see him and I think, oh, pop, and then it clicks in my head like, damn.
Yeah.
So it's almost
that's why
like
I didn't do that with Nana.
But it makes me feel good when I see him.
I tried, but I just couldn't. After like 3 days, it was like I gotta change this shit.
Yeah, but it's weird. It's like I don't immediately look at him and get sad. It's like a quick afterthought, like, oh yeah.
And the fellas asked about you too. Danny and Eddie asked how you were doing with the death of your grandfather, and I just told them like, she going day by day.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. But yeah, so but again, through all of that, that is my wow. That I'm happy that I'm grateful for you and your support and love for the resources that we have. As far as counseling and being able to, not that like I sought out counseling, grief counseling, but already being prepared with the tools kind of helps you. And I know that I could have if I needed to, and I'm grateful for that. But I'm grateful that we have prepared, kind of stocked our resources, literally and figuratively, to be able to, handle situations that may come upon us. So, that's my wow. And I don't have any woes, and I'm not gonna fabricate one or, try to conjure up one, because I'm grateful. I feel good. Yeah, I feel good.
Absolutely the same take. Just blessed that God has given us another week. I don't know, like I'll be having these changes where I just be feeling different about stuff, or like people be dying around me, and not around me, but just in the world. Like rest in peace to Lou Gossett Jr., who passed away, and rest in peace to Vontae Davis, who's 35 years old, a football player that I watched a little bit in college, and because of his name and how good he was, like people knew him in college, and then he played in the pros. He had the most epic retirement of all time. At halftime, he said, "I'm done. This is a young man's game. I'm out," and just took his clothes off and left.
At halftime?
At halftime, in the middle of a game, like halftime. Like he's supposed to go back out there in the third quarter. He's like, "Nah, I'm good."
And how old was he when he did that?
32.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and that was his reason. This is a young man's game. I'm out.
He
and
probably
that's just the most epic retirement ever.
Yeah.
That goes down in the history books. But some people will retire before the game, after the game. Nah, in the middle of the game, I'm done with this. So, but rest in peace to him. And they said it wasn't no foul play, so apparently just died. But yeah, rest in peace to people. And it just be giving me a different thought about time. And I hate to think about like that, like how much time I have, you have, loved ones have, and it just it can wear on you a little bit. But I don't have any woes. I'm just grateful, and that's it.
That's one of the reasons why I said that you were hating, of course, like facetiously. But when we think about things that happen like that, and I am grateful that you are still here by my side on this show and in life. But considering the emergency that you experience, hearing stories like that, what it has taught me or made me want to, it's one of them things that's so cliche. People always say it. It's like, you never know the time. Like the kids say YOLO. You know,
you only live once.
Yeah, and it's like, don't put things off. Do things, because you never know when you might have that next opportunity. Now, there is a sense of responsibility that you have to make sure that you maintain, but it's almost like one of them things. Sometimes you gotta throw caution to the wind and say, F it, we're gonna do it. We're gonna enjoy this. We're gonna, and I'm not talking about splurging on like material things, but you know how we are as far as moments and experiences, and that's why I wanted, like, of course, needing vacation is essential, but it's also one of them things too where it's like you can't keep putting things off in life and saying, oh, maybe next time, or maybe when we get to this point, because that time may never come, and you miss the moment. So that's one of them things where I feel like one of the lessons that and not that I learned, but it reminds me of when you hear about stories like that. It's like, man, you just never know. You just never know when all your clock runs out.
He had, and life is going, and I hope that his family is taken care of. I agree with what you're saying, where you got to live in the moment, but there's also a fine line. You can't get wrapped up in that everything's a moment, because you will deplete your resources, whether that be physically, mentally, financially, or whatever. So everything can't be a moment. Like, you have to have moments and then still be at a certain point where it's like, okay, I'm comfortable. Because when you're not comfortable, that leads to anxiety, that leads to stress, that leads to thinking that, you're out of whack. So as long as everybody is comfortable, then yeah, I do believe in that. But there is a fine line that you can cross where you get wrapped up in that, where everything's just a moment, because everything adds up. Whether it's on your body, whether it's in your pockets, everything adds up.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but somebody had posted something a couple weeks ago, and I don't know if I said it here. I'm sure I mentioned it to you, where they said, they know of some people that went their whole life putting money into their 401k for retirement, and then died right after their retirement. Or you got some people that don't even make it to retirement, and you've been storing away and making this nest egg. And I am 1,000% of the belief that a nest egg and that financial stability that it's needed. But it's also one of them things you think like, in the end, if you don't make it to see it, you know, all that you've been saving for, it's like, damn, like but we don't get a chance to spend it anyway. Or so it's. I agree that it is a fine line.
This is one of the worst things that I heard a person say, and this was an elderly person. That what if you do make it? Yeah. What if you do make it? One of the worst feelings in the world is being old and broke. Yeah. Because you can't work no more. That's why I said yourself. I agree that fine line. But if you do make it, which you're praying to God that you do, you don't want to get there and be like, damn, I got all these experiences, but now I need welfare. Now I'm light on this, or my Social Security ain't enough, or my pension ain't enough. Like that's all I'm saying. Like you can get to a point where, okay, I did make it. I am in my 70s and 80s, and I can't work because I'm physically not able to. And now I'm broke. Like I had this lifestyle in my 40s and 50s, but now I'm eating canned food in my 70s and 80s.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's one of them things. I admire people who and again, it's not just about travel. It's just about enjoying life. Yeah. At the moment that we're in, and not that planning. Like I know, I used to work with a lady, and she just retired. I think she was at the company she was at for 35 years, one of my former employers. But I think overall she said her professional career for 41 years. But she has always been known to travel. And I told her, I was like, I'm looking forward to the experiences I know that she's about to embark on, because that's something that she loves to do. So just see, and I don't think she is I don't think she's over 60. Like it may be early 60s, maybe, but it's just a beautiful thing to see somebody work all their life, do whatever they need to do to have their resources stacked and, you know, be able to enjoy it. But who's to say everybody gets to that point and have the ability to do so? Mm-hmm. So that's like his death is again one of those reminders that's like, damn, 35, you just never know. No. And I heard the 911 recording. And it's crazy because his assistant was had called 911 because whoever, I don't know if it was like a housekeeper or somebody who found him, she called the assistant, and she was on her way to the house, and she was like, the lady just kind of like froze and wasn't able to do anything, say anything. And I can just imagine you come in and you see, you know, him on the floor, you know, he's healthy, or, you know, he's an ex-athlete, and you just think, oh my God, what did I just walk into?
Access to the best doctors, the best exercise equipment, like in the peak condition. And 35, like it makes you think about family history, makes you think about a whole bunch of conspiracy stuff. It just makes you think nobody's supposed to be dropping dead at 35, not unless you have some terminal illness. Terminal illness where it was like, okay, this was expected. But nobody should be dropping dead at 35. Yeah.
It's pretty sad. But
last week,
condolences to his family.
Yes, condolences to his family and Lou Gossett Jr.'s family. Last week we had a show led by you, and it was great. Got some views on that, and we had some good conversation. This week is part 2, and wow, part 2, and I'm just gonna throw it to you.
Last week, you know, we talked about just the family dynamics and how family hold on to secrets and how that can fester and change the dynamics, and how it can have long-term consequences on a person's life. We also saw, we kind of talked about during the Grams last week, the raid on Sean P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Puffy Love, whatever you want to call him.
Don't call him Love.
Yeah, well, I thought he had changed his name.
Yeah, but he's all hate. He ain't loving. That's not love he giving out.
Well, you can't call it hate. It may be, you know, weird energy, but I don't know if he hates people. But, you know, we seen the raid and it, how it affected, or how his children were brought into the loop because they were there. Now, people made it seem like, oh, they were into it too. They could have just been there and they put cuffs on them because they're grown men and they just wanted to make sure that they were detained while they did whatever they needed to do. Not like they were arrested and, booked or anything like that. But it makes, it makes you ponder. Do you believe that the consequences of past generations have an impact?
Do I believe the acts of
the acts of past generations bear consequences on future generations?
Hell to the yes.
Now, do you believe in a spiritual way or literal way?
Both. Both, because some things are just innately hereditary. Some things, like the way a person could pass down love or nurture, like the pain that they're feeling, they can project on you, and you can come up the same way and feel the same way. That's why a son could be just like his dad, or the dad was just like his grandpa, because what he was feeling, the pain he was feeling, is projected onto the dad and then projected onto the grandson, and they kind of, in that lineage, is kind of all the same guy. My dad was just like my grandpa, and I'm just like my dad. They probably would never admit that, but somebody looking from the outside in would be like, these three people are the same. When you say that, it's a Sean Puffy Combs' son. Sean Combs, I guess he's the junior, the young one with the low haircut.
Well, they kind of all got low. You got
not the oldest one.
So
what's the next one? Not Justin.
Christian.
Okay,
the one that looks just like him.
Yeah, so he got a lawsuit and a warrant out against him for drugging women.
Oh, wow.
So that popped out. So when you say they may have had on handcuffs, I know we talked about that, but now shit is coming out about them. So I just don't know, and you don't want to believe like everything that's ancillary to a big thing that's happening on the internet, because people can just pile on to shit like that. So you just got to see how it plays out. But I do believe that acts of a past generation can bear consequences. Shit, back in the day, you would inherit your grandfather's debt to a certain point. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the debt was passed down. So yeah, it affects you in generations.
Right. So people like to refer to the Bible because there is something about it talking about sins of the father, but people don't realize it's not literal in the sense that God's going to hold you punishment
for shit my dad did.
Right. But what God does hold you responsible for is if you continue in that way. So like you said,
breaking the cycle.
Exactly, breaking the cycle. So if Exodus 34:7 says that God maintains loving devotion to 1,000 generations, forgiving iniquity, transgression, and sin. Yet he will by no means excuse the guilty. He will visit the iniquity of the fathers on their children and grandchildren to third and fourth generations. So he's not going to excuse you of anything that you do, as a result of your father or grandfather. It still is your responsibility to break away from that. So that lends to the question of nature versus nurture. We know there are some things, like you said, that are hereditary, right?
Which is weird. Like suicide is one that pops up for me. Like just that twisted gene to want to not have, and I don't want to say this in the wrong way, but not have discipline to give up on yourself and feel like you don't have anything left. Like that shit is passed down to like, it skips a generation, but it's passed down. So you never know.
Well, it sometimes skips a generation, right. But the weird thing is, it's usually the paternal gene. So right. A father can pass it to a son. But when you think about it, suicidal ideations is one of those clinical diagnoses that falls under psychiatry, not right. Psychology. So it is like it's like any other disease.
Back up again. I just want to understand what you said.
Right. So suicidal ideation, when you have different diagnoses that fall under the umbrella of psychiatry and some that fall under psychology.
And what would be the difference?
Psychiatry, you can be prescribed medication. So like if you go to a psychologist,
they can't prescribe you medicine.
Right.
They will refer you to a psychiatrist.
There are certain they call them SMI, serious mental illnesses that are deemed psychiatric illnesses that
schizophrenia, things like that.
Yes,
okay.
Anorexia.
I got it now.
Right.
So those people aren't going to sit down with psychologists. They're going to sit down with psychiatrists.
Right. Now they can do both, but they those are psychiatric conditions.
Gotcha.
So when you think about suicidal ideations, then that is something that is like a medical I mean, I in the same vein, not saying that anorexia is hereditary, but it is a medical condition. So the thought that it can be passed down, suicide, is not just so much the act, it's the mental state that people find themselves in because of the mental health condition. Mm-hmm. In a book I was reading, and this is fiction, but it talked about a woman who had experienced loss. Someone really close to her died, and then she had a stillborn baby at like a very late in her pregnancy, like 38 weeks. And seeing her psychologist, what one of the questions was about whether or not she had ever thought about ending her life. And the way she explained it was, it wasn't that she wanted to kill herself. Like, that isn't the primary thought. The thought is just that,
ending the pain.
I don't want to wake up and do this again. So the way that I do that, I don't like when you wake up in the morning, it's like, I gotta go through this day again,
like
feeling like this, right? So it's more so that it's not like, oh my goodness, I just want to slice myself and just because I want to hurt myself.
The thought of killing yourself is ancillary to you just removing yourself from the pain,
right?
Like you're not, your desire isn't to kill yourself. Your desire is to rid yourself of the pain. Now, killing yourself that's the way to do that, but I mean, that's an understanding that's like, damn, wow. Right.
So, but going back to that, it's one of those things where you think that is nature, meaning that it's hereditary. It's how it's within you, versus nurture, like you said, somebody being, just a mean-hearted person and their son or daughter experiencing that, and inadvertently they develop those same habits or characteristics because that's what they are surrounded by.
Like, I mean, parents fuck their kids
right.
up. Like,
just like you said, just like, hate and anger is contagious, so is love and peace.
Yeah.
But
when you think, not to cut you off, when you say that, I think about a movie like Precious. If you grew up with a mother like that who never poured into you except hate, like, you could imagine the trauma that a girl like that would grow up with. Let alone if you change that character to a son and a mom was doing that. Like, he gonna have an issue with women when he grow up where he not gonna like women that much.
So how hard, we both have had some nurturing that we were raised with that we had to break away from. Mm-hmm. That whether we realized it earlier or later in life, where it was like, nah, I think, I know for me, I'll say through therapy, I realized even more where some things were stemming from, because on the surface, you just know how you're acting, you hear yourself, you see yourself, and you just think, oh, that's just me,
right? Until
you do the work to realize, oh, this is where this is stemming from. How hard has it been for you to break away from some of those things some of those characteristics that you developed via nurture? Now I feel like, broke away from those much earlier than I did.
I was going to say, for me, it wasn't a big struggle because, one, I was in a situation where I kind of had to have a lot of discipline and separate myself. Two, I always wanted to get away from what I came up in. Like, that was a big drive for me. Like, I don't want to be, how you see something and you either are it or you don't want to be it. Mm-hmm. Like, even like things that happen to you, it's like you can turn into your mom, your dad, or you can go the opposite way because they showed you what not to do or how not to be. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was like I seen a lot early. I knew I wanted to be, I knew I had a conscience about shit, even stuff that I seen elder people do. It was like, okay, I don't want to do that when I get older. Like, I don't want to be like that when I get older. So I had a determination to be a good dude, whatever that looked like. I didn't know at the time, like, this is the list that makes you a good dude, but I just knew I wanted to be a good man, and whatever that looked like. I just wanted to be a good man. I wanted people to say, like, he a stand-up friend, he a good dude. Is you know where you stand with him, like that kind of thing. So, and
you cared about your character and your reputation.
Yeah, hell yeah. And I didn't want to go through life just frivolously and not caring about those things. Like being a man, having some character, having some coof. That shit means a lot to me. So, in that aspect, like it wasn't hard for me at all. Because I knew I didn't want to be over here. I didn't want to be that. I want to be something different. Now, what different looks like, I don't know yet, and I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah. I think for me, it wasn't so much difficult because it was like, okay, I want to be the opposite of what I seen. Like, I don't want to.
Once you get the tools, it's kind of.
But it was more like I felt like, okay, I don't want to lie. I don't want to steal. I want to be happy. I want to teach my kids how to love. I want to be loving. Like, I want to be a positive force in the world in whatever way I can. But I think in some ways, the desire overwhelmed me so much I overcompensated, which probably caused myself more stress than necessary than just allowing myself to do it and be it. It was truth. Like I was so wrapped up in be different than what you saw growing up or what you were taught inadvertently, not taught by lesson, but taught by exposure, that I felt like I caused so much. I denied myself peace earlier on in life. You know what I mean? And it was like I was doing good things, or trying to do good things, but I was so wrapped up in trying to do good things instead of just doing and being, that now I think I'm at a point in my life where, and maybe I was trying to prove to myself. It was never about proving to anybody else, because from the outside world, they didn't know. Everybody just knew me to be who I am. They didn't know how much I was fighting to not be something else. But for myself, so it wasn't about proving anything to anybody else. It was about proving to myself. And it took a while for me to realize, like, calm down. Like, you're it. You're
all
it.
that time that you was doing the good things and overcompensating, and you was trying to prove to yourself, doing all of that time that you were driving yourself crazy, for lack of a better term, did you never think once that, okay, this is enough proof? Like, I do feel like I'm a good person. I do feel like I've changed. I do feel like I'm not that. Or was that whole process, I still don't feel like I'm any different from what I was exposed to? Because if you're doing all these good things, like at one time you got to come home at night and say, "Whew, like I'm different. I'm doing good things
I guess
out here."
I never really stopped to think about it until I think for myself, I started feeling mentally tired, exhausted. And then I think also sometimes when you don't, when certain actions or attitudes or whatever it may be, when there isn't any reciprocity, I think that's when it really challenges you to think, is this really you? Because just because you're not getting it back in return, that shouldn't change who you are. And
but that's why you kept going. It's almost like you're saying, like the kid who doesn't get the love from the parent, they keep going after it. So you wanted to keep showing it because it wasn't no reciprocity. Like almost I'm doing all these good things and nobody's bringing it back to me. So I must not be doing enough. So let me keep doing it.
No. What I'm saying is later on in life, when I hit a certain stage or phase in life when I realized in certain situations there may not have been reciprocity, that's when it challenged me to realize I I am still who I am. Like, even though this person or this situation or this response may not have been what I wanted it to be or what I thought it should be, or this person may not, be as I wanted or desired them to be, that I didn't let that change me. So I think that's when it's kind of like, it's easy to do good when everybody's happy, everybody's smiling, and it is reciprocal. But are you still that good person? Do you still do good when the world is cruel?
Right.
Or when people turn against you? Or when everybody else is being mean? Or, I think that's when you face the challenge of
taking
who
a
are
high
you
road
really?
Or stooping down.
Right. Who are you really? So for myself, it wasn't difficult to break the cycle, or I didn't think it was difficult, but I realized I was putting a lot of stress on myself, and maybe that was necessary at the time. Maybe that was me fighting so hard to break the cycle, so maybe I had to fight harder than you, and now I'm just living in who I am, knowing that cycle has been broken. But it was exhausting.
Yeah.
Like I exhausted myself.
I can't
through
say it didn't tire me out, because I was in a situation where I had to have discipline early, and like strict discipline, because I was trying to stay out of jail. Mm-hmm. But so yeah, it was easy in that sense, where it's like, do this and you're okay. You don't, you're not okay. So that's like black and white for me. Right. So it's like, I'm going to do what I need to do to be okay. But you're right. It is tiring to conjure up that energy every day, when you just got to be reserved with yourself and know, I'm good. Like,
but you know what I think is true for both of us? We were both stuck in trying not to be who we were. So we became this kind of like, almost robotic in a sense of trying to fight who we didn't want to be. And now I think we stepped into who we truly are, or at least learning who that is. Because it's one thing, it's almost like I'm just trying to think of a metaphor or analogy here. It's like somebody painting your face, it's like waking up every morning and painting your face not to look like something else, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I want to paint my face every morning, paint my face every morning, paint my face every morning. But it's like, that's not you really being who you are. You're just painting your face not to look like that other thing. So it was almost like we had to learn to be who we really are, not being that other thing, but without painting our face to do it. Like, not putting forth so much effort to be like, we were painting our face to be this other person without realizing we can just be this other person without putting forth all that daily effort. I don't know if that is the best analogy.
I was ready to say, because it borders on, we're put up a facade all those years. And
not a facade at all. Right. I don't feel like it's a facade. When you say
paint the face, that's like a facade. Like you're putting on something in front of you. Right. So that's where it makes me jump to facade. But I kind of know where you're going with it, but yeah, I don't feel like we were fake people or putting up a facade.
Right. We just were putting forth so much energy to change. And it's like we were trying so hard instead of just saying, let me just do it.
Yep.
Let me release some of this effort and this energy that we're putting to say, do this, remind ourselves, instead of just doing it and being it and allowing that to become who we are.
Yep, exactly.
So, I mean, it feels good now in our 40s when people say, like, and maybe for others it happens at different times, but when people say, like, your 20s are a mess, you think you know everything, but you're just having fun, making mistakes, reckless, struggling. And in your 30s, then you start to get some clarity about things, but there's some confusion as well about, like, when you hit your 40s, you kind of hit a stride. And I remember people used to say, it's like the F it 40s, like, you don't give an F with nobody thing. And I really feel that, like, you start to care more about what you think and what's really important to you, and that allows you to release yourself of,
I think that's nurture. I think that's evolution. I think that's life experiences. And I don't know why it doesn't happen for everybody, because it's some people 40 can't get right.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, but you're absolutely right. I do feel the same way. When I turned 40, there's a certain level of, and I don't know whether your mind is wired to know I may have more time behind me than I do ahead of me. So your wiring changes, and a lot of things that you worried about or stressed about or thought you needed, or a position you might have had, like that shit doesn't matter. All you want to feel is purposeful. All you want to feel is that a connection with God. I want to feel like every day I wake up, whether it's I take care of my family, I have a purpose. The job that I have, like all those things make you feel like this is the like that's what life is. Having things in its simplest form and enjoying the moment. All the stress and pageantry that everybody puts on it, you can't go 85 years like that.
Right.
You can't. Like you would be dead of stress. So when you do get to 40, it's almost like a kickstart. And again, that age, you may have some high school friends that pass away. You may have a elder in your family that pass away. So you're in the middle and you start to think like, that's like stress.
Your mortality becomes a reality.
I'm trying to enjoy life. I'm trying to be in the moment. I'm trying to enjoy my spouse. I'm trying to enjoy my kids. Like people don't when you get to that age, that's the mind shift of most people. Now, for some people, it's a different thing and you can't get right and you still, something happened where it's a glitch in the system. But normally, I think that, yeah, you're right. In your 40s, you get to an age where it's like, and I don't know what you wake up from Tuesday to Wednesday, but you just feel different.
You do.
I remember telling you that.
Yeah.
Like when I was 42 and you was like 38, it was like, I'm telling you, Tosh, like it's just I can't explain it, but everybody was right. Like everybody was right.
I feel like it's like this carefreeness that comes over you. And it's this necessary selfishness. And when I say selfishness, meaning you care more about you. Now, in caring about you, my husband is a part of me. So, of course, I care about him, too. My kids are a part of me. I care about them, too. My sisters are a part of me. I care. But it's more that like I gotta be all right in order for me to care about anything else. It's that selfishness that comes about where you just feel carefree. You say no more freely. You say yes more freely. You enjoy yourself more freely. Like I look forward. I love my husband from the crown of his head to the soles of his feet. But baby, when I get a solo date, when I'm like off and got a doctor's appointment and I can have brunch and I can like sit at a table by myself and just be, I love being in my own midst. And I don't know if I've felt that same way, prior to this phase of my life. So I think that's one of the things I've learned about like in this stage of my life of not trying to be or trying to fight that nurturing and just realizing like living it, being it. You've proven to yourself who you are at this point. And if you haven't, then you've proven to yourself who you aren't. Mm-hmm. Like it ain't many people that's going to do a whole lot of changing in their 40s.
Nope.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, in terms of like future generations suffering consequences of the acts of their past generations, do you think if more people thought about that, then there would be less crime, or they would do less dumb things if they really thought about how it would impact their children or grandchildren? Or do you think that people just wouldn't care?
People wouldn't care. People don't give a shit about, and people say they give a shit about that, but people don't care. They want what they want in the moment. So majority, and don't get me wrong, I'm not going to categorize everyone,
right.
But majority of people want what they want in the moment and don't care. Because I mean, look at things let's just take it to a far-fetched area like global warming and things like that. People don't give a shit to do something now for what's going to help my grandkids. Like, I don't know them little motherfuckers. My great-grandkids.
I was going to say great-grandkids.
Okay, yeah, I had to throw another great on here. Even I'm going to throw another one, my great-great-great-grandkids. Yeah. Like, I don't know them little niggas. Like, I ain't met them, so I'm not sitting here now thinking about ways how I could be useful to the earth and green because I know my great-great-great-grandkids is going to be here in 60, 70 years. So, no, people don't give a shit about that. They like to act like they care about things like that, but no, you don't. Now, I think if you knew, and even if, no, I changed my mind. Even if you knew something was going to directly impact your child in their future, it happened to us. Now, who's to say that our parents actually knew that this is going to fuck with them when they get older? But that's what happens. Yeah. That's what happens. Yeah. Whether it be ass whoopings, verbal abuse, whatever it is, like they don't. It's just what's happening in the moment.
Yeah. It's one of those things you do have to think about consequences. We do have to think about how past generations affect us, but it's not impossible to break the cycle. We can live in and fulfill our own dreams and desires regardless of where we've come from, because we know what happens in reverse. People come from excellent homes, excellent upbringings, and their lives crumble. And in the same token, people come from crumbs and their lives flourish. So it's possible.
Yeah.
It may be difficult, but it's possible.
And speaking on this topic, all things being said, a kid is supposed to grow up in an environment where you're given time to grow, given time to find yourself. You grow up in a good environment, good education, good parenting, good loving, good nurturing, and you figure out life like that. So all things being equal to whoever's life that may have been, who do you think you were supposed to be if all things were that?
It's weird because who I think I'm supposed...
And let's preface this by we love who we are today.
Absolutely.
We love the shit that I'm not going to say love, but the things that we've been through had to go that way for us to sit here in front of you and be these people. So we love who we are. But again, if all things were equal...
It's crazy because who I think I was supposed to be, I never had any desire, or it wasn't a thought in my mind. I think I was supposed to be something in the realm of like working with children. Like, my passion. Now, I don't know if my passion for children is driven by my desire to have children and inability to do so. So I don't know if that's like a butterfly effect or if I would have always been that person.
So was that and I guess what I'm asking for, it comes from the thought of the dreamy child that hasn't been through anything yet. That's kind of like you just still got your impressionable, you're still joyous, you're a young kid, and you fascinate about, when I get big, I'm gonna do this.
Well, no, that's why I said it doesn't come from that, because it's coming, I guess, in hindsight and thinking of who I am now. But when I think of that, it could be a butterfly effect because of my desire to have children, or my experience and exposure to seeing children hurt and wanting to protect them.
Gotcha.
So that could be where that mind frame comes from. But if I think about like my childhood dreams, I always wanted to be a trauma surgeon. I wanted to be I used to say I wanted to be a doctor. Then I used to always watch Trauma Life in the ER with my grandma, and it was like, you know what, I want to be a trauma surgeon. Then I experienced my grandpa having a seizure in the gallery. My sister and I, he had took us to get, when the new felines came out, the high top with the strap, he took us to the gallery to get some, and he had a seizure. And that kind of triggered in me like, I'm going to be a neurotrauma surgeon. So I was planning on being in school for 30 years probably before.
The rest of your fucking life, neurotrauma surgeon.
But that was my childhood dream. And I think for me, though, I was always a smart kid. Like, I did well in school. And I don't think there was a lot of nurturing because, like, I got accolades, like, pats on the back, like, good job. But it was just like expected of me. I didn't get like those additional pushes. And when I got to a certain age, I kind of felt alone, where it was like, all right, I'm smart and I can do good in school, but I'm not surrounded by anybody that can help me. I got the life things going on that is like disrupting my peace. Like, so, it was kind of disjointed. Like, everybody expected me to do well, but I didn't necessarily have the support to do well. It was like, just do good so we can clap for you and say you're doing good. But I didn't have the support behind it. But, if we talk about that childhood dream, that's what I wanted to do. But living in who I am today, I think who I was supposed to be was somebody working, whether it was a teacher, a child psychologist, a social worker, some kind of way helping and nurturing children. What about you?
I think my youngest thought, and that's where mine would come from, was be like the military. I think my youngest thought was like, I want to go in the military. I want to be a Marine. So probably that would have been my path or direction in life. Going to the military for 25 years. But then when you're young like that, you don't know about war and shit like that. So when you get older, as I got to be like 10 or something, it started to be ingrained in me, like, black people don't go to the military. Like, you better not take your ass to the military. Like,
go
that
out there
kind
dying.
of thing. Black people will tell you, like, they use the military like the system. Like, once they get a hold of you, ain't nothing I can do for you.
Yeah.
Like, when you get locked up, they tell you, once they get a hold of you, ain't shit I can do for you. So, yeah, that would probably have been
I would have thought you would have said a firefighter.
That came later.
Okay.
That came later. Yeah. That came later because of where I lived and what I saw, and like that was like, so I was impressionable that way. But before that, it was like, yeah, I could probably go to the military. But thank God I didn't. Yeah.
3 grams?
3 grams. 150 cancer diagnoses popped up on a North Carolina campus. Like, what's this about?
This is very scary. So there was a chemical.
It makes me think asbestos or some type of chemicals
No,
in the building.
it was a chemical that was in the building that these people were being exposed to, and there were different types: breast cancer, thyroid, different types of cancer. But they focused it to this building. 150 people.
That's a nexus.
All who were exactly. So what happened? They had the chemical that was used in the building was outlawed in 1979 in the U.S.
What was they using it for?
I don't know exactly what it was used for. The chemical was called, give me 1 second.
Because that's crazy to be like, so what was it, like sitting in a bucket? Like, was it on a wall? Was it, like, what type of chemical was it?
The North Carolina State University, they launched an investigation because there was a cluster of 150 people where they linked back to this building. The building contained high levels of polychlorinated biphenyls, a cancer-causing chemical. Don't know what that is used for, but I'll find out. But that chemical was outlawed in 1979 in the U.S., but this building was built in 1971.
Now, there's a lot of things that they outlaw that they still do. So that's not like they'll tell you a building before a certain date didn't have asbestos in it, and you can go in and tear out a building, and it does. So just because something's outlawed doesn't mean it ain't used no more. I would really like to know. It
says, though the polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, are a group of human-made chemicals that were commonly used in building materials and electrical equipment before 1980. Caulk, paint, glues, plastics, fluorescent lighting ballasts, transformers, and capacitors are examples of products that may contain PCBs.
Wow, so you're walking around just getting like radiation cancer from everything. I mean, you cut on lights, you're sitting under lights all day.
Paint on the wall, caulk in the bathroom.
Everywhere, like, yeah, that's what I wanted to know. The building material, so the building itself is fucked
It's put
up
together, yeah. So these people, and it just makes you think, what other universities, what other hospitals?
This is 2024, and that's, wow.
Yeah. What other universities, what other hospitals, what other schools that our kids are going to?
Well,
asbestos is one
in Philadelphia,
but that's one thing. They say asbestos, but what other stuff?
Why did you say asbestos?
Because that's how it's spelled.
It's asbestos.
Oh,
okay. You said asbestos.
Okay, asbestos. They say asbestos is like, okay, the overarch. They always want to say that, but I'm sure there are other things like these building materials. Like there's old schools. I don't know where y'all are all watching from. I'm sure we have some people outside of Philadelphia. Hey y'all. But where we grew up, there's a lot of school buildings that are very old. I would dare say that these people, and it just.
I wonder if that's silica. Silica is a product, chemical used in building materials today. It's in drywall. It's in drywall. It's in concrete. When you mix like bad concrete, like there's a chemical in it called silica. That shit can cause cancer. So, and this is building products that's made today. It's just a certain level of it.
Yeah, I mean, well, so there's articles on photo degradation of polychlorinated biphenyl silica. So there's some articles about it. We can do some research. Yeah. Maybe it just makes me a little scared because you think about how many things they aren't telling us about that can cause cancer. Proposition 65, based out of California, now requires all companies to post on their website if the products that they sell contain chemicals in it. And I've been looking for this, like when I'm scrolling looking on websites, cookware, like you go to Rachel Ray's website or any of these websites and you go, they have this Prop 65 letting you know what the chemicals are. My thing is, I want them to say this stuff needs to be written in layman's term, because you listing all these chemicals. Let me know exactly what it is and what it can do to me. Clothing now, Fashion Nova and some other fast fashion brands have been required to post this stuff because they're using these chemicals in our clothes. So you're putting shirts on that are covering your breasts, on your skin, pants on that are in your mid region, that it just makes you so scared of like everything we're being, all this time they've been talking about cancer research. You got all these different charities for cancer. We can't get away from it. You can raise as much money as you want to for cures and treatment, but we can't get away from it.
No, and that's the thing. You're not going to get away from it because that's where they want to stay, in the treatment zone. They don't want to cure anything. And it's almost like the Chick-fil-A thing. Like, we got to now say we're putting antibiotics in the chicken. The loophole is we have to list these chemicals, but the thing is we have to list the chemicals that's harmful to humans. So
right.
Who determines that? That's the thing. Who is the guy who determines what's harmful to me, what's harmful to her? And that's what goes on the packaging. So that's the loophole, is we don't have to list every chemical. We just have to list the chemicals that's harmful to humans.
Well,
and who determines what's harmful to humans?
Right,
who determines what's harmful to me? Because the one you might leave off the list that you think not harmful that's harmful in my body might fuck me up.
But my thing is this: why are you just required to list them to notify me? Why is it not a requirement to not use it?
No, we have to. And that's blatantly, that's saying that too, indirectly, that we use chemicals in everything.
Yeah, but that's why I say it's like the way to get away from it is to live like
off the grid.
Yes, off the grid, a farm, making your own clothes out of wool from sheep that you grew, like not breathing in any radiation, no cell phones because you got radiation there, no AirPods because they say the brain waves to your ears. It's like we just can't get away from it.
No, technology brings you closer to those kind of things because the shit that they advance technology with isn't all that great for you.
Yeah.
Putting certain kinds of compounds in phones and shit to make them work, and it's like, if a lot of that shit would kill you, but you lucky you just got a little bit in there.
Yeah.
So it can fuck you up. After a week, is Diddy going to jail?
I don't know. I haven't been keeping up on the story. I haven't, I kind of seen like bits and pieces and tidbits of it. I don't know if this is criminal litigation or civil litigation. I mean, of course, the SWAT team showing up lets you know that it ain't just about money anymore. But at this point, nobody was arrested.
I heard that the son was charged. Has a warrant out for him, and Cassie was cooperating with the feds. I don't think that all this comes to fruition and you don't go to jail with these kind of charges. Now, if I had to put a time frame on when he would go to jail, I would think at the minimum 4 years. Because the money, the trial, all that kind of shit. Like, so at the minimum, if he had to go to jail, it would be probably 5 years from now. Like, it ain't like Puffy gonna be in jail in 6 months.
Yeah. I hope that if he did illegal things, he, suffers the consequences. Having lewd parties, freaky deaky stuff going on is not a crime. Now, if you're drugging people, if there's children, like underage girls there, if you're holding people against their will, forcing them into sex acts against their will, yes, those are criminal behaviors.
Paying guys to be in your basement with hard penises ready to fuck at any time is, I don't know if they agree to it. Not, no. It's just,
they're receiving payment to do it. They are agreeing to it.
I get it.
It's freaky, but it's not a crime.
I get it. It's just so high level freaky that it's almost taboo. Like, people should know this, bro. And it makes it look criminal. Like,
well, that's why people didn't know it for so long. But I mean, NDAs, I think that's what it is too. NDAs expire. Think about all the people that have been in Puffy camp that we hear from no longer. Let alone the people that have went the extreme spiritual route. But like the Farnsworth Bentley, you had this man walking around holding an umbrella.
You probably
and
have
now
an NDA that's in perpetuity. Like, it's forever.
Now anything that you see Farnsworth, it's like, happy birthday, bro. Good, like some really short, sweet, congratulatory, supportive statement. But clearly, whatever was going on during those years, like, what happened?
I don't know, but you're right. He is one that was around him daily, all the time, in all the music videos and holding an umbrella over him. So you would think he would be at these parties and know a lot.
I'm sure he knows a lot.
Probably had things happen to him, or
he may be receiving a check in perpetuity.
Yeah, he may have done some things that's not, I don't know, but and it may be videoed, it may be pictures. So you just never know. These NDAs he drum up might not be, you can't talk about the party for 3 years. It might be like, you can never talk about the party. But one thing that trumps an NDA is a subpoena. So if, say, the court say, fucking come down here and talk about this, and you subpoenaed, fuck a NDA. Like, they trying to put me in jail for some shit you did and don't want me to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't know. Last Gram, first quarter. Just the deaths that we've experienced. Grandpop Jimmy, Lou Gossip, Vontae Davis, things like the bridge collapsing. That's just the first 3 months of the year.
Well, way more than that. That was the last 2 weeks.
I know, but I can't run down everything.
Yeah.
You can add some stuff if you want, but there's a lot more catastrophe. There's a lot more deaths that happened in those 90 days.
We still have all the, war going on, and that started last year, but yeah, there's, the first quarter of the year,
getting worse or getting better coming out of 2023.
My grandpa dying was hurtful, heartbreaking, but I feel like the year is getting better. I don't feel like for us in any other way life is getting worse. Right. I feel like in terms of the world, it's the same. Mm-hmm. People die every month, every week. Like, I think for a long time, we're always shocked when we hear like names of people dying, but it's nothing new. Like, it's
just more exposure to it.
Yeah, it's more reporting, which for me makes me withdraw because it's too much. It's like it's too much, and with all the like the gossip pages, which are now like the news pages, people rely on those pages more than they do the news. It's too much.
Got a slant too, though. Like, the news is a show. But so I get what you're saying. You shouldn't be going to motherfucking Baller Alert for your news.
But that's what people do.
You can't depend on Channel 6 though every day, or Channel 10 or Channel 3, because it's a TV show. Yeah,
I think for us life is getting better, and I'm grateful to God and pray that, that it's His will that it continues to do so. I think for the world, status quo.
I would agree, because we just see it more because we're on our phones more, the internet is in our face more, but I think life is getting better. I think God is blessing us. I think every day we wake up is a blessing, and we should treat it as such. And I think life is getting better. I think every day is getting better. The things in my circle and my surroundings, aside from your grandfather dying, has gotten better coming out of 2023. So yeah, although these things are happening around us, I just think that it's kind of programmed that way. The algorithm, as they say, kind of just makes it happen that way. Not that shit ain't going on, because it is, but it's definitely more in our face. And I don't know. That's another conspiracy conversation. Is it a ploy to scare us all the time? Is it a ploy to keep us, or at each other's throats all the time? So I don't know. But
I feel like any day after January 16th, 2023, it's all the way up for us.
Yes. That landed. Mm-hmm. That landed on me. A2TP podcast coming to a wrap.
Episode 169.
Episode 169. Platforms you can catch us on is Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Music. Podcast Index, Podchaser, Google Podcast Player, FM. It is your boy International Walk.
It's your girl Tasha, the co-host with the mostest.
That's all you got? No love for the people? No saying?
You didn't, give me the window yet.
Oh.
Lead with love. Be kind. You never know what anyone else is going through. Be your best self.
Is that going to be the tag, Lead with Love? Because that was last week too.
It may be.
Okay. All right.
May always lead with love and then add a little something on it.
Cool. I was just asking.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to be funny.
No, I
if you fuck with us, you fuck with us. If you don't, you should. Peace.